Howdy everyone, it's me once again, the one and only Killer Rodan. And today, as you can see, I'm still continuing my Disney movie marathon. Whether I'm talking about the movies, the shorts, the programs, their documentaries, uh, Disney theme parks, whatever the case may be. So I'm doing another thing here where I'm responding to a podcast where this individual is trying to bring some quote unquote news, if you want to call it that, about Disney, claiming that apparently Moana is an anti-princess type of movie. What are you talking about? It certainly is a princess movie. What, your mommy didn't hug you when you sleep? I mean, when you were a child. I mean, she didn't tuck you in when you go to bed. What's going on here? That sounds like something Bitter would say. All right, then let's just get into it. Whatever. Oh, here we go.
Partway through Moana, an animated musical due out November 23rd, the titular character's traveling companion, a tattooed demigod named Maui, voiced by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, refers to her as a princess. "I am not a princess," Moana says. "If you wear a dress and you have an animal sidekick, you're a princess," he counters.
That's the joke.
That doesn't mean that she's not a princess. It was just, or anti-princess. That's not what it's trying. This dude has no sense of humor, like at all. Boy.
But Disney's latest heroine, a 16-year-old Polynesian voiced by newcomer Auli'i Cravalho, puts an end to this mansplaining.
What? What are you talking about?
She doesn't do it with a witty retort. Instead, she does it by navigating the ocean, defeating a pissed-off lava monster, and saving the world with a dim-witted pet chicken in tow.
Okay, you skimmed through a lot of plot. I mean, there's plenty of stuff you glanced over. And how does anything in the film go against the idea of mansplaining? How did you go into that kind of thing? I mean, he's suggesting that this movie has gone woke with the social justice warriors, feminazis, and all that. It's been ingested into this movie. What? You have nothing else to do? Is that what it is? You're not making no kind of sense whatsoever in any shape or form. Uh, boy, this is stupid.
The newest Disney character to join the ranks of Belle and Ariel is, in fact, just what she says she is, a heroine. That's the point.
Yes, by the way, that was actually a stab towards Beauty and the Beast, in case you're wondering. So, assuming that if you're a princess before Moana means you can't do nothing. What? Because according to him, if you're a princess of any kind, you can't do anything. You can't be a heroine. You can't save the day. You have too many people helping you out to actually do anything. That's a complete lie. Oh boy. What a load of shit. Oh boy. Oh boy, folks. Alright, his podcast is not that long really, but let's try and get this over with, I guess.
Say directors Ron Clements and John Musker, who helmed such classics of the genre as The Little Mermaid and Aladdin. "We saw this as a hero's journey, a coming-of-age story in a different tradition than the princess stories," says Clements.
No, you haven't explained anything. I mean, yes, there was a controversy of the directors who made this film, but it's not because of what you said or what they apparently said. I mean, the only controversy that came from this when it comes to the movie, the directors, is that a lot of people got upset at the fact that this movie was directed by white people. Yes, they didn't like the fact that white people directed this film. Oh boy. So, what does somebody's skin color have to do with anything? I have no idea. It makes no sense at all.
Adds Musker, "I don't know that any of the other princesses we've been involved with we'd describe as badass." The idea for an animated feature set in the Pacific Islands was conceived 5 years ago by Musker, who was inspired by the novels of Herman Melville and Joseph Conrad and paintings by Paul Gauguin.
Boy, this just sounds extremely bitter. Bitter, bitter, bitter. Did somebody hurt you when you were younger? Is that what it is? I just never forgave the person. You just hold grudges. Is that what it is? It seems like something bad happened in your life. I mean, just holding on to it, and you're just projecting that anger or whatever it might have been onto the movie. I doubt they said anything like that. Oh boy, you're not making sense at all, whatsoever. You haven't explained anything anyway. What's stopping a princess character from being a badass? You assuming this just because she's a princess character? That she won't do anything? Or the fact that she refused to do anything? Is that what it is? Just going on the traditional submissive 1950s housewife? I don't get it. None of this is making any sense. And if you have all the characters behave the same kind of way, wouldn't that like undermine what you're trying to do? If they all behave the exact same way, can you just do that in various different methods? Why does it have to be one specific way? Oh, excuse me. I'm asking questions. My bad. And how is Moana more badass compared to the other princess characters that came out previously? In which way? You haven't explained anything. Like, at all. Whatsoever. Ah.
Recognizing that all of these perspectives on the region came through the eyes of Westerners,
Perspective. What about foreigners? Why are taking stabs at princesses? What's going on? What's the point? I don't get it. Why aren't you making any sense? Why have you done your research? Did you really watch the movie? Who's doing what now? Who's being a badass? What's going on? Why is this a podcast? Why is this a thing? Why did you make this? What's the ultimate goal here? I'm not being a troll. I'm just genuinely wondering here. Why isn't anything making any sense? What classifies this princess character with that attitude? What is required exactly? What specifically did she do? Oh, speaking of the voice actress, by the way, she came out as bisexual in public. That's brave for her. And she did it while listening to an Eminem song, of all things. No, that's pretty cool. That's badass if you ask me, but there you go.
he began a deep dive into Polynesian mythology.
Producers of Frozen did a lot of research on Norway and Norwegian heritage and whatnot, but you didn't give the film credit for that, like, at all.
Culminating in a trip, along with longtime partner Clements, to Tahiti, Samoa, and Fiji. During the trip, Musker and Clements rendezvoused with archaeologists and linguists, choreographers, and village chiefs. By the time they left, a central theme was beginning to come into focus: navigation.
Funny how he's leaving out the fact that Caucasian directors and Caucasian crew went to do that research and got some trouble for that. I mean, that's wrong. You shouldn't assume they're doing something bad because of that, but still.
We learned about Dead Reckoning, where they sailed by their knowledge of the stars and the currents, explains.
Not really. When Moana had to, sail off in the sea and learn properly how to do it, it was more of a plot point than an actual research paper kind of a thing. You getting it? They got that wrong, but okay.
Musker. It was very much a source of pride to them that they were the world's greatest navigators in doing so.
Again, literally what I just said. When she actually learned how to do the navigation on the ship thing, boat, or whatever you call it, it was more of a plot point than anything. It didn't mean that it was trying to represent the entire culture.
But mixed up with that pride was a mystery, one which historians have struggled for ages to solve.
What are you talking about? What mystery? Nothing in the movie has what you're talking about. Do I have to counter you in everything you say here? Come on.
About 2,000 years ago, Pacific navigation came to a halt. 1,000 years later, the transoceanic voyages picked up again, and Polynesian explorers went on to settle Hawaii and New Zealand.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? You mean the Earth, the Earth itself changing? What does that have to do with the movie at all?
The basis came out of a story of fantasy of how they got started again, says Clements. What if it were all because of a 16-year-old girl? There were several.
16? I think she's older than that. I mean, I could be wrong about that, but something about it don't seem right. But anyway, okay, not every bit of research is going to go into the film. That would make it too long. Not every movie needs to be like 5 hours. Yeah, you hear that, Zack Snyder? Not every movie needs to be like almost that length of a time at all. So he's trying to get they're doing certain things with the movie and whatnot compared to previously. This is a really bad argument, folks. This is just a horrible, horrible argument against the princess movies. And why I'm trying to praise Moana.
Months, however, where it looked like Disney's next big bet would not be about a girl at all, but instead would focus on the mythical Maui.
Dude, did you even see the movie? So the entire film is about, or at least a good chunk of the film is about the character that's been voiced by The Rock. Are you serious? What?
Folklore around the demigod abounds in several cultures, painting him as a shapeshifter, a trickster with the story of his life tattooed across his body.
Okay, if the character is based on actual folklore, that's up to debate. But of course, he's dismissing the fact that he was arrogant, the fact that he wanted all the attention himself. He looked at the fact that he's supposed to be almighty, so give him the attention. Star Wars took inspiration from folklore and real life events, but a lot of Christians dismissed this whole series anyway because reasons. Granted, a good chunk of that is because of the homosexuals being in the movies, but other than that, there's a bunch of other things to complain about. But come on now.
He pulled islands up out of the sea with his magical fishhook. His bigger-than-life exploits and personality really seemed like it could be rich to see in animation, and I had never seen anything in film of that character before, says Musker.
I highly doubt that any of that was actually mentioned in some interview or whatever. Because there's a good chance he might be misquoted intentionally just to make it seem as if he was true. So there's that.
Ultimately, they cast Maui in a significant supporting role, but shifted focus to the teenaged girl.
What do you mean shifted focus? She was the focus of the whole plot to begin with. It's not like they changed the tone of the movie or whatever, like 20 minutes in or anything. What are you talking about?
We thought it would be very appealing to do a female empowerment story that didn't center on any sort of romance, says Musker.
That's something a bitter person would say. Having a romantic story and an adventure doesn't have to be exclusive to just separately. You can have both at the same time.
We saw it as a sort of true grit type story. The determined
What? As if you can't have that in a romantic story? That sounds so idiotic. You're gonna do two of those things at once. It is possible. Oh boy.
girl who teams up with a washed-up guy. They have this adventure, and she finds her true calling and saves the world in the process.
And again, what's stopping her from having to do those things while being in love? How's being in love stopping her from doing that? You're not making any sense.
In addition to lacking a love interest, unlike nearly all of her predecessors in the Disney canon, Moana looks different from her forebears.
Four bears? Did I just hear that right? Four bears? It looks different. Okay. What do you? I still can't get back over the fact that he said four bears. What are you talking about? Oh, okay. The film Brave came out 4 years prior, and she's not exactly looking the same like everyone else. And that's not brought up.
No strutting waif, she has a sturdier build, one which would believably allow her, in Musker's words,
And of course, he's referring to the body types. You realize that women come in all shapes and sizes. And yeah, he doesn't like the fact that it was this skinny. Oh boy. Have to make a remark about that. Okay.
to hold her own in the demands of this physical environment.
Okay, you're skipping a lot of stuff again. Mind you, she went rogue. She disobeyed her father, and the fact that she asked the other character for assistance as well, because he's buff and all. Otherwise, there's a great chance that she won't be able to compete anything like at all.
As her physique evolved in the studio, animators put her form to the test.
Character designs do change from character concept to the finished product. It's rarely that characters would stay exactly the same. That's how filmmaking works. Uh, so what does that got to do with anything? I don't know. There's so many questions. I still have a lot of questions to ask here. Come on.
Ensuring that her musculature lent itself to a girl who could credibly, single-handedly survive the perils of the open sea.
What are you talking about? What? Not once she ever looked like this. At all. Ever. Ever. And again, you're glancing over a lot of stuff. There's a lot I mean, she got some help, yes. But, no, boy, this has to be one of the worst analysis of a movie out there. You're doing a really bad job at it. Oh. And she had some assistants. Maui, or whatever his name is, the demigod. He was really buff. More than she is. Because, he's a dude. But, again, you're glancing over a lot of stuff. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that women can't be buff either, because it's been proven again and again and again and again that they can. It's just easier for a dude compared to a woman to actually do so, is all I'm saying. Moving on. It's just biology speaking, okay? Biology. That's all I'm saying. Don't be thinking that's some sexist statement or whatever, okay? It's just biology. That is all. Again, like I said, moving on, moving on, moving on.
Moana is a new kind of character, and the movie is also a first for Disney, as its only animated film set in the...
Okay, brand new, complete original. Okay, I won't go that far. But they are trying to make it somewhat different compared to before, I guess. But, okay, that doesn't mean the other stuff isn't relevant, but alright.
Pacific Islands. The influences that informed its language, styles of dress, and foundational folklore are pan-Pacific,
Okay, now you're just overselling the movie. Because you're trying to get at that the rituals, well, whatever tradition that they may have in Hawaii is strongly in the movie, which is not. You're overselling it. Mind you, even if it had all of those things that he's saying the movie has, that's not my complaint. My complaint here is that he doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know what the movie's about. So he's injecting this, all this a bunch of other stuff just to get you to watch it.
pastiche of Fijian, Tongan, and Samoan cultures, among others. A first version of its script was penned by New Zealand filmmaker Taika Waititi, who boasts the two top-grossing films produced in his country.
Okay, nice time to talk about behind the scenes again. Uh, again, there's no way for you to know that really because you weren't there for one. You haven't done the proper research. Of course, the script will change from time to time. Oh boy.
And left his mark on another popular export, the comedy band come TV show Flight of the Conchords.
Why are you talking? Every time you talk, you only prove why you shouldn't.
The movie is also a first for its directors, as their inaugural foray into an almost entirely computer-animated film.
Hey! Shut up!
Some elements, like a living tattoo on Maui's left pectoral muscle that serves as an external representation of his conscience, are hand-drawn.
Cause this is filler, filling up the time. An hour and a half is just too long for uncreative minds.
Technology-enabled elements of the visual storytelling that would otherwise have been a stretch, most notably a living ocean which reacts to the movements of Moana.
Okay, now he wants to put on specific moments. Okay, not really moments, really, but specific scenes that have to do with something in the grand scheme of things. Okay, now he's trying to just distort what he's trying to talk about by bringing certain elements of the story. It's a form of distraction in some ways because he does, at the end of the day he doesn't really have anything to talk about anything like at all. I mean, okay, folks, I know this video is going to is pretty much going to is longer than it should be, And yeah, just like every little thing he says is wrong. Everything he's saying is completely and utterly wrong. He still hasn't explained anything at all. Trying to say that this is more progressive than the previous Disney movies? That's a flat out lie. Just because all the other Disney characters, okay, a good chunk of them anyway, are light skinned, newsflash, that doesn't mean they're all Caucasian. It's pretty racist for you to assume that. Oh boy. Christ almighty, man. Really?
Name means ocean in several languages, with a sort of anthropomorphized gesticulation. Other aspects, perhaps surprisingly, are more complicated with a keyboard than they are with a pencil.
Okay, you're talking about the technical aspects of the movie. So what? Again, the production will change some aspects of movies when you think about it. And that's just needless anyway. When you think about it, what are you telling me giving needless? Oh, yeah, I can do the same thing. In the first Frozen film, they had to create new software for Elsa's hair. Same thing in the sequel. And this was a lot more complicated when they were doing Rapunzel. When it comes to the hair. Yeah, so for Frozen 1 and 2 to do Elsa's hair alone was a lot more complicated compared to when they were doing Rapunzel's hair. Does this amount to anything? Absolutely not. It's just filler. Nothing but filler. So yeah, this feels like it's dragging out. Because, filler. Filler, filler, filler.
A few months from release, Clement sighs, they're still having a few nightmares about the ropes. Moana's chances of taking hold of American children in the manner of 2013's Frozen and implanting in their minds, as that movie did, a fierce desire for millions of dollars worth of themed merchandise is closely linked to its capacity to have them singing along.
So they're worried about competing against themselves. When it comes to the target market, music, CDs, and all that, like anything merchandising, um, boy, you still haven't explained anything, like at all. Again, needless detail, needless detail, more needless detail. You're just dragging things along again and again.
In pursuit of anthems as mercilessly unforgettable as Let It Go, they brought on Lin-Manuel Miranda before his hit musical Hamilton launched him into megastardom, in part because they admired his ability to move seamlessly between languages in his first production, In the Heights, a feat they hoped to emulate in Moana. To capture the sounds native to the movie's setting, they recruited Opataia Fo'ai, leader of the group Tavaka, who was born in Samoa to a Tokelauan father and a Tuvaluan mother. And to help pull it all together, they brought in veteran Disney composer Mark Mancina, who collaborated on the soundtracks of The Lion King and Tarzan.
Funny how he didn't bring up the fact that the first Frozen film gave its own twist to the whole princess stories. And same thing with the sequel. Both films gave their own twists on the whole princess stories, so you ignore that.
Whether or not it ends up a purveyor of earworms, Moana is poised to speak to more than just the dress-up demographic. More important than what it's not, a princess tale or a love story, is what it is, a story of self-discovery.
That's bullshit.
What? How's being a princess unto itself and having a love story preventing said character from having uh, a self discovery kind of thing? Yes, you can be a princess. Yes, you can have a love story and have character development. Of course, he's taking jabs at all the princess movies that came before Moana. So anything before 2016, pretty much. And that doesn't make any sense. He hasn't explained anything, like at all, like whatsoever. He talked about briefly about the director, briefly behind the scenes, nothing really of importance, like at all. That tells you he has nothing to talk about really, and he glanced over a lot of stuff as well. Again, nothing to talk about really.
Early in the film, Moana is in turmoil over the clash between her desire to become a voyager and her father's demands that she stay close to home and grow into her role as the community's next chief.
You just said you glanced over some stuff here. A lot of context. Like, for example, of course, young people will be rebellious for one, even if the parent has the best interest, even if they have the best intent. Kids are gonna, and teenagers are often going to rebel. Not just that, the father was fearing for his safety. There's a whole backstory around the fact that people has gotten hurt badly if they go beyond a certain point in the water. And of course, her gram encouraged her anyway, despite the dangers. And the gram will guide her as well in the dangers as well.
When she asks, "What's wrong with me?" it's hard to imagine an audience member who hasn't at least once thought those same words. The answer is no less poignant for our having guessed it. That is absolutely nothing. This article posted by Eliza Berman.
Okay, I don't care who wrote the article or whatever. Again, what does this have to do with being a princess? And what does this have to do with falling in love? Again, like I just said way earlier, folks, he just comes off like he's a bitter old prune, and that's it. Oh boy. Yeah, I just thought I'd cover this. I know this came out a lot longer than it should be, and I appreciate anybody watching. And that's the whole thing, folks. That's the whole bit, really. And that's about it. So I appreciate anybody actually watching this and actually seeing this straight through, of course, even though it's really long. Whoever you are, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much. Oh boy. Just yeah, I'm talking about a princess movie again. I don't mind talking about princess movies, even though it's not really the manliest thing to do. Whatever. I know some people much rather talk about the manly movies, like those action 80 movies, or whatever. I mean, nothing against them really, but they're not my forte really, if I'm be honest with you. But anyway, I'll just end it here. Of course, as always, thanks for watching, and take care. Until next time, see ya. Oh yeah, later. Ah, this guy was a moron. What the hell?